taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear or think about Africa?
The first thing that comes to my mind is actually the shape of the continent.
When I hear Africa, I think of all the beautiful queens and kings that derive from there.
Hot, dry, nice dark-skinned people, good-looking people.
Where everyone comes from, the first original continent. When I think about Africa, I think of beauty.
Beauty, peace, love, freedom, you know. Africa is beautiful, man, you know. I was born and raised there, you know, and it's freedom.
So when did you move here from? What part of Africa are you from?
Well, I'm from Ghana in West Africa.
So when you first came to America, what was your impression of African Americans?
Well, like, basically, all I can say is like whatever they portray on TV way back in Africa is different from whatever you're gonna see over here and experience. Everything is different. It's already the opposite of everything.
When you came here, did you experience any like negativity from African Americans? Because on our side, typically when we see perceptions of Africa is pretty negative, so a lot of us have like tainted views. So how was your interaction with many African Americans?
Well, to me, I'm like easily approachable, like I'm friendly, I welcome everything. I don't get offended when people ask me questions about Africa because like many people are ignorant. One time my big brother told me like, these guys brought the internet and you guys have the internet, so why don't you make time and search over and have like knowledge about what goes on in Africa? Well, like basically when I started, I used to work in a warehouse job. And one thing I like about Americans, like they approach you, they call you bro. They don't even know you, they call you brother. Well, that's really a welcoming for me. But someone came up to me like, so like, I just want to know something about Africa. I want to ask you a question, don't get offended. I said, okay, no problem, I'm cool with it. And he was like, so the sneakers that you're wearing, the shirt that you're wearing, like, were you wearing the same thing in Africa? I'm like, come on, we have nice places in Africa, we have ghettos in America, so everything is the same thing.
What do you know about Africa based on what you've learned in school or seen in the media?
I don't know too much about Africa. I know more about like certain pieces like Ghana. I just learned a lot about Ghana and like the slave castles that were in Ghana.
I wouldn't say.
Hooty-hoo. Hooty-hoo. Sorry about that long intro today, folks. But just wanted to set up the show. I think last week we did Black to Africa. And this week we're doing My Lost Identity, Black to Africa. So we'll probably put the 2 on the end of that. But I wanted to share those videos in the beginning because I think there's I already know there's a cultural disconnect. And it's leading to a lot of fears about reconnecting to Africa. I like what one of the young men was saying, like when they saw what America was as far as black people, they saw a whole lot of negativity, but then they got here and they realized it wasn't like that. So just like we would see a lot of, when they show Africa and the things going on in Africa on TV, it's always the bad things. And we're under this perception like Africa doesn't have major cities, hotels, resorts, cars, banks, movie theaters, bars, culture. We act like that only exists here in America. And I think that's one of the things that keeps us from reconnecting. I was talking to an older brother the other day. He's about 61, old school. Shout out. And we were having a conversation about this, and I said, the reason we are in so much turmoil because the white people that moved to Africa and lived in Africa and now call themselves Africans. You got the Chinese people moving into Africa, and they're taking over. They're still calling themselves Chinese, but they were able to move into Africa. And everybody's able to move into Africa except black people. And he said, wow, I never looked at it like that. That's the way we need to be looking at it, because if we talk about legacy and identity and culture, we talk about it from this American standpoint instead of an African standpoint, because we need our African brothers and sisters to reconnect. Last year, 2019, was the year of return. Ghana had this whole big year of return festival thing going on. encouraging black people to move back to Africa. Well, it's just like moving any place else. You would have to probably go and visit, check out a few different areas, see what you like, see where you want to live. Nobody just jumps up and just moves to a neighborhood. And what I was talking to with the brother was, we're not talking about everybody move right now. We're talking about a 50-year migration where we may not go. I'm probably not going to live another 50 years. A lot of people are probably not going to live another 50 years. But maybe our grandchildren can have an opportunity to live in a place without this huge gorilla that we call America on their backs. Maybe they can be the first ones to actually grow up free, experience freedom and what it is to be black in this world without the judgment, without the persecution, without the constant protests and all the things that we constantly go through here. It's a chance for us to actually learn. Like the one young lady's like, I don't identify with putting myself in the box of America. And I stopped it years ago. I have a shop. There are no American flags in my shop. And I think that's one of the first things that has to happen is that you are going to have to break this identity crisis that you are going through. Even if you are here and you figure that you're successful, you still are missing something. When I got African friends, I saw what I was missing. I was missing me. I was missing the culture. I was missing the understanding of my originality. We ain't gonna talk too long tonight because everybody's tired of my back to Africa speech. Sound like Marcus Garvey up in here. I don't know if everybody knows we got a new call-in number. That's 650-560-4388. 650-560-4388. Yeah, call. You know, tell me what are you? Are you African American? African, black? How do you identify? I had a couple of people in my shop today, and I got like the African flag, Afro American flag. I've got like a Haitian flag, a Jamaican flag. And they said, well, what is this? I said, I call this identity crisis. Because from our originality to where we got here in this unknown land where they dropped us off on these Caribbean islands in South America and North America. Because when I think of slavery, I don't think it's just about American slavery. When they say, well, the numbers are this. No, I'm talking about slavery overall, period. I'm talking about the destruction of 65 million black lives. And I'm not going to let the Jews or anybody else trump that. It's the worst thing that ever happened on this planet, and that's what I'm sticking to. Love it or lump it. But back to what we're talking about here. What if we could start taking money, and this is the real reason that I look for reparations, because that would give us a chance to actually go back and rebuild with our brothers and sisters and help build an infrastructure, just like the Chinese are coming in and building infrastructure. But we know they don't care about the African people. They there for the resources, for the oil, whatever they can rape, just like everybody else that comes there. But we would actually go with the idea of recreating our bond, building together, creating a great nation on the planet where they had to deal with us evenly instead of the pillaging and rape and all the type of stuff that they did here. A lot of people don't realize when slavery ended here, the Europeans raided Africa, divided up all the countries. All the countries have certain names now because of what happened, the Berlin Act, 1865, where they decided to come in and just kill and pillage and do whatever they wanted to because slavery was abolished. You can't ship slaves and everything over here. Now we need someplace else. So these white people that have settled in now that call themselves natural Africans are some natural liars. That is not your heritage. That is where the conquerors came through, and that's where they settled at. And so they a lot of them live in fear now because they're like, well, we're not leaving this land, no matter how they got it. And we figured we should still be able to oppress the blacks. That was the whole apartheid thing. White folks suppressing blacks on the continent. It wasn't until 1957 when I think Ghana was the first ones to get their independence. And for the next 10 years after that, all these African nations started getting their independence again. But they had went through about 80-something years of oppression under apartheid to destroy them. So the continent, just like we were destroyed here in America, the continent of Africa was pretty much raped and destroyed to a large degree. So when you see a lot of this stuff on TV, you don't get the full picture. You don't get the full story. You just like, okay, Africa's bad. I don't want to go there. You mean my kids are going to have to go to a school where they actually are with other black people being taught by blacks? Insane. I'm going to live among black people? Crazy. Years ago, and I want to say probably about, it's got to be at least 15 years ago, I started watching these African movies. And let's see if I can put this on the screen here. And I was intrigued about watching movies with black people, Africans. Because in most cultures, if you want to know the culture, you watch the movies, and the movies will tell you a lot about the culture. And I can tell you over the years, the movies have gotten much better. In the beginning, they were kind of hard to watch. You know, the scripts were really bad, but there were a few actors and actresses that you would always watch their movies. Genevieve, she was a good actress. Trying to see if I can find her. Sorry about this. Let's see if we can put this on the screen here. Genevieve, she was like a top actress in a lot of the movies that you would see, African movies. There were a couple other people, and I found myself watching these and getting into them and telling other people about them, and then I would talk to my African friends about them and the culture, certain things that I did not understand in these movies. And you start learning, you start picking up on the culture, you start seeing things, and then you really start enjoying. So now, even my wife, she watches the African movies. If you got a Prime account, you can see a lot of the African movies, and it's amazing. They have now become more interesting to me than a lot of the American stuff that we are fed in America. They've got a few little gangster movies and stuff like that in there, which I don't really too much care for young people, because in America, all they show us is drugs and killings, right? So the whole culture that you see, and a lot of times you'll see a lot of people have their own little resorts. It may not be fancy. A lot of people may still live in the countryside. Then you'll see movies where people actually live in the city. And you'll get get more and more in tune over time, and you'll follow the storylines and things like that. So, like I say, been watching for years, and they've gotten much better over the years. So just like they had to start somewhere, I always tell the brothers and sisters, we got to start somewhere. And our biggest problem is we don't want to start nowhere. At the beginning of this show, all the time, the clip I show says, build your own house. And we fight that tooth and nail. We like, I ain't building a house. We entitled to this. Right. Yeah, we did help build America. And we've been waiting 400 years for America to treat us right. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. But we fight it tooth and nail. And I've been doing this experiment for like the last 3 weeks. Just talking to people about Africa, trying to get their mindsets. And really no blacks that I've talked to have really been interested in it. But they don't realize that if you're not interested in it, then you're interested in what we get here. You're interested in the destruction, the mistreatment, the system. You are interested in it. Now, you can say, no, I'm not interested. No, yes, you are. Because you're not interested in an alternative. And maybe, like I said, maybe that alternative isn't for me and you, but maybe that alternative is for our children or for our grandchildren. So when they talk about heritage, slavery isn't always like, and it was terrible, and this and this and this happened, and they drug us out here. What if the ending of that story is, and then the black Africans came home and helped us rebuild this nation, and Africa kicked out all the freeloaders and all the people that were taking advantage of the resources of Africa, and Africa became this big dynasty on the planet where everybody had to now deal with the kings and queens of this world in a different manner. And then all the famine would be wiped out. And then all the wars and things that were caused by poverty would be wiped out. That's the real reason Gaddafi got killed. He had decided he had enough money, he was going to pay off Africa's debt and set up a whole new system, whole new government, money, everything. America said, no, wait a minute, nigga. You is not about to do what you think you're going to do. You're not about to become the king of Africa. You're not about to save these people. We got plans. This planet has plans. We're not about to start negotiating with black people. That's not what we do in America. So that's the real devil side of this whole conversation. When they say a fear of a black planet, I believe there's an actual fear of us reconnecting. Now, a lot of people say, well, there's a lot of Africans that come from Africa and they come over here. Why are they coming over here if Africa's so good? There were times in Africa when it really wasn't good. There was famine in the late 70s and 80s. You saw the commercials, flies on the kids, belly sticking out. AIDS came about, ravaged the continent. So there were times and periods where it was really bad in Africa. And some had the opportunity to come here. And then there's a lot of those in Africa that are living in poverty, just like there's a lot of people here that are living in poverty. But the poverty system there is 10 times bad as the poverty here. So to come to America is a dream. The freedoms here are a dream compared to what they had to deal with under certain governments. These are some of the things that we would have to consider. You just can't move to Africa and say, I'm taking over. That's why you start building the relationships now. Building the relationships with the government becoming part of that government, becoming part of the continent, bridging things together, learning what it is to be African. You already know what it means to be American, and for me and you, that means a life of hell. We know what that means to be, but we don't know what it means to be African in Africa. And we need them to tell us what that means. So I just been dealing with that for the last few weeks, and I've never been to Africa. But I told my wife, we were talking about traveling one time, and she wanted to talk about Europe or something. And I was like, there's no way I'm traveling across this sea. And the first place I'm not stopping is Africa. I feel that that's going to be kind of a completion, because everybody that goes, you know, they get that spiritual thing that happens to them. And I want to feel that. I want to, you know, get down on my knees and maybe kiss the ground. I want to complete that voyage in my spirit. I want to start investigating what opportunities await us in Africa where we can grow the diaspora and reunite to our originality. Secret. They got internet in Africa. Maybe not at all the places, but they got it. A lot of places with poor Akon got a big energy contract. He said they have now supplied, using solar panels, have supplied over, I think he said 350 million people with solar energy. And he said he did that because when he grew up, his grandmother really didn't have lights and stuff like that. So when it got dark, she had to light candles. And he wanted to do something for her. And he worked with that project, made a little money in the process. He didn't do it for free, but his heart was in the right place, because he understood that just like in America, if we keep you poor and we keep you economically deprived, you'll learn to survive. You won't learn to live. And so that happened also with a lot of the Africans in all the African nations. 54 countries in Africa. All of them are poor, ravaged countries. Some of them are very rich countries. Metropolitan cities, nice cars, everything. So I just wanted to put that on everybody's head. I just want everybody to think about it and to just say, I'm open to it. Let's talk about it. Let's embrace that. Let's all get to the point of saying, at least I want to travel to Africa. I want to see Africa. I want to experience it. I've just experienced it through other people. My brother-in-law went last year, and he brought back all these pictures and videos, and he asked me to make a video reel for him out of all the pictures and everything. And I took that chant song from Ali, and it's the one where he's jogging, and they play the song. He runs, he sees the wall, and he sees the picture of him on the wall. I can't remember the name of the song, but it's a beautiful song. And I laid that to the tracks of Africa, and I just stood there and I watched the video time and time again. You know, the animals, they went on safari and they saw the animals. And yes, they did see the places where there were poverty, but they were so mesmerized. You know, they came back like, wow, this was incredible. And I think we all should have that feeling. We all should want to go and travel to the motherland. And then we should come back and fight for reparations, and we should get that reparation money, and we should start building that dream. America doesn't pay reparations to Americans, so as long as you're sitting around screaming, I'm an American, I don't think you're going to get it. African descendants of slaves is probably going to get that money. That's what we claiming. It's just a dream. King had a dream. Why can't I have a dream? that's my new dream. So I'm going to talk about it a lot until more people want to talk about it. But we ain't going to hang on the line too much because I got a Zoom meeting to get to tonight in about 20 minutes. So I want to take a break, have a sandwich. But I just wanted to come and talk to everybody. Thanks for joining. Like I said, we got that new number, 650-560-4388. That's our new call-in number. And if you want to drop us an email, the show, 1965@yahoo.com. Drop us an email. You want to talk about a certain topic? You want to come on and talk? Drop me a line. I've had this phone line forever, and rarely do I get a call. I've gotten calls here and there, but phone line is open. It's not a long distance call. That's just a Google number. And if you call that number, because I'm not giving you my real number, but that phone forces to my real number. So on that note, we're gonna do it what we always do. We're gonna say love, peace, soul. We out of here.
Step out of the car. I have the right to do that. I do have the right. Now step out or I will remove you. I refuse to talk to you other than to identify myself.
Now if your woman ain't no revolutionary, she'll persuade you to be a fucking slave for the rest of your days. She'll be grooming you on how to behave, teaching you how to coon and buck dance so that you can be safe. If that brother ain't no rider, soldier, no provider, molder of young minds, check it out, you got yourself a bitch. Think about the time that you invested in him. If he's wearing them skinny jeans, you a lesbian. For every 100 black women who ain't locked up, it's only 83 black men remain. Take away 1.5 million black men who might have benefited their women and their children. You don't know a war when it's waged against you, when it makes you drive your baby mama to the clinic just to kill your own. Ain't no legacy to leave behind, cause ain't nobody sitting on your throne. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Sandra Bland was a rider. She wouldn't have committed suicide if you a motherfucking liar. It would not be wise to stop when you hear sirens and you see the police behind you, but you don't wanna die. They gon' shoot you if you run. They gon' say that you was going for the police gun. That's why they shot you like 120 times, but you was still coming, so they put another bullet in your lung. Them devils got you praying while they murder, because they know you on that bullshit. They steady with them full clips and body armor. They kill your women in the street, cause they figure you too weak to do anything about it. You some shit, getting fucked in your sleep. They poison you every time you brush your teeth. You don't care, you behave like a slave. A bitch from the cradle to the grave, on your knees with your hands out, begging cause you wanna be saved. Are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga. Fuck that. Freedom or death, nigga.
If you just listen,
Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga.
you ain't getting a warning. Until now, you're going to jail.
I'm getting it for what?